All right, thank you to Jesu and Eshomomo for that interview. Back here in Lagos, on today's segment of Trending Now, Olamide Odekunle went to the streets to sample people's opinion on democracy and how well the country has sailed for 26 years. Let's hear what they have to say.
Democracy.
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 Democracy is a word that has been on the lips of Nigerians from colonial rule up until today. As a country, we contended with military rule for almost 29 years between 1966 and 1999, with a few brief intervals of civilian rule in between. But all these years later, many people are still fighting for and believing in the Nigerian democratic dream. Behind me is the giant 46-foot statue of Chief MKO Abiola that was erected on the 12th of June 2018, exactly 25 years after the June 12, 1993 elections were annulled. Now, although Chief MKO's voice was tragically silenced, this statue behind me is a bold recognition that what happened on the 12th of June 1993 ultimately shaped Nigeria's modern democratic landscape as we know it. Indeed, it is a symbol of civil struggle and perhaps hope. If democracy truly is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, who better to ask about the state of Nigerian democracy than the people?
On the streets of Lagos, the people's definition of democracy is simple: freedom of speech, free and fair elections, and political peace.
The common definition of democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That is the common definition of democracy. But taking it to the larger extent, is a situation where a people make a government for themselves, choose a government by themselves and to govern them, not foisted on them by any power, be it foreign, be it local, be it domestic or any point. They choose that government by themselves. That is what democracy is.
Democracy, as commonly known, is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's what I believe, and that's what democracy should actually be. Democracy should be that government that is elected, constituted by the people, because sovereignty rests and resides with the people. And that government should also be for the people, for the benefit of the people. So that's what I believe that democracy should be.
Democracy means people having their voices, people electing the representative that they want to be in government to represent them in higher positions like presidency, like the Senate. You know, these are people who give the power to the people. And I feel like that's just what it really means, because if you have your representative and people who understand you better, your cultural differences, your ideology, your community, your background, it helps such persons who is in power to be able to give back to such community in such a way that you're not left out from the power play in the political, synergy or scenarios.
It means a government where the people's voices are heard. It means a government where the people's interests is what the government bears at heart. It means a government where the people are at the forefront.
Well, if you ask me whether we are truly under democratic rule, I doubt, because what we are actually practicing is not democracy. It's democracy to the few, in the sense that when you look at the true definition of democracy, it's government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the common man on the street, we are the people. So have we really taken over this country when it comes to democracy? I doubt. The only reason that democracy is not well practiced in Nigeria is because there is no true separation of power between the executive, the legislation, and the judiciary. So if the president will still be the one to appoint the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria is also confirmed by the Senate, without confirmation, he or she cannot act as the CJN. So when It's only when there is true separation of power in Nigeria that truly democracy will actually be put into practice. As it is now, we are not practicing democracy. We're only practicing what is close to democracy.
Democracy is where we civilians can rule ourselves. That's the only simple something about it, that civilian rules civilian.
Democracy is freedom of speech, you understand, to every Nigerians, you know. Democracy is when things are going wrong, people should come out and talk without any problems, without creating violence or...
The way I understand is kind of something you make life easy for nation, Abi?
Democracy is a day of liberation. A day of liberation. It's a day that Nigeria, we assume we have freedom.
Democracy is mean a lot to me, because when there's democracy, people feel relaxed and people feel happy. People feel happy and everybody will be jubilate that we are in democracy season.
While we might understand the basic tenets of democracy, I set out to know if the average Nigerian felt that they were indeed living the democratic dream.
Well, yes, in theory. Nigeria is under democratic rule because the government we have for some time now were that kind of government that were, constituted by the people.
If I'm going to be honest, that's a very deep question, because with all that we have playing out currently, with voting, democratic standard and structure of this of this country, I feel like if we are to compare that with other developed nations, I feel like we are still way back. But, we never can tell. We just feel like we are being hopeful that someday we are going to have a country that is democratically functioning like it ought to, and will hear the voice of the people, which really matters, because I feel like that's what democracy is all about. Power to the people, by the people, for the people, right? Yeah.
If you ask me whether we are truly under democratic rule, I doubt, because what we are actually practicing is not democracy. It's democracy to the few, in the sense that when you look at the true definition of democracy, it's government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the common man on the streets, we are the people. So have we really taken over this country when it comes to democracy? I doubt.
32 years after the historic June 12, 1993 elections, the echoes of memory still live on our tongues, and the late Chief MKO Abiola remains a symbol of hope.
History, I remember that was during MKO Abiola's election, and I understand that was the very first representative of the people actually just coming out of coming out of trade. I think that was slavery, coming out of slavery. So I feel like that was the very first time the Nigerian people were given the liberty to vote for their representative, as opposed to the colonial masters, even in those seasons. So it was really a time that resonated with people so much. And I feel like, I hope we could go back to those days, those moments where our vote counts, where people that we want and we choose could actually be in power to represent us properly.
I actually believe that it's actually one of the most remarkable days in the history of Nigeria. That was when history would have been made in this country. And I think that was when the freest and first election was actually conducted. And for the look of things, recently we were all told by a book written by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida that MK Abiola actually won that election. So I believe that since that was the day that the freest and first election was conducted in Nigeria, that was the day that democracy was actually in store in Nigeria.
It was the day they did an election in Nigeria, that brought in MKO Abiola, and although the election was annulled, so I think that's what happened on June.
32 years after the historic June 12, 1993 elections, the echoes of memories still live on our tongues, and the late Chief MKO Abiola remains a symbol of hope for many Nigerians.
I cannot say for sure that Nigeria would have been different. The only thing I know about MK Abiola is he's a serial businessman. Maybe his experience in the business industry would have come to play in Nigeria. But me, I believe that having conducted the freest and first election in Nigeria, which is actually close to what democracy is, Nigeria would have at least be better than it is now. Because at the point Nigeria would have gotten it right, that was the point where everything was actually scuttled by the then military regime of Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida.
Well, in Yoruba adage that when you don't have money, you will behave, you will lure yourself. But when you have money, you can do and undo. But assuming MK Abiola was installed or as the president, we can't say anything can happen. Anything can happen. It can do well and it can otherwise, because we have so many influential people that we influence him that do this, do that. And to make up his mind, many people will convince him that, well, Nigeria is very difficult to rule.
From what we anticipated, I think and I hoped that the country would have been better if he was given the mandate.
No idea.
Olamide Odekunle, TVC News, Lagos.
So happy Democracy Day, Nigerians. One for all for one.
Democracy we are talking about is beautiful and is peace.